I'd like to call this meeting of the Lammersville Unified Board of Education to order at 7 o'clock. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed, so if you could please turn off or silence your phones at this time, it would be appreciated. And if everyone could rise and well, maybe I should call Bethany up first. If Bethany could come forward and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, by liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. It is my pleasure to introduce you some of our ASB students. Our ASB does a lot around our campus, and they put on a lot of amazing events, and they're going to share one of the most pivotal events that we've had so far this year. Leading the Pledge of Allegiance was AJ Justin, and giving you the presentation today is our social media director, Vivian Zhang, and our ASB president, Natalie Navarro.
Welcome.
Hello. So Brandon Leake, winner of America's Got Talent, is an incredibly inspirational speaker. We were first introduced to him through the Castle State Conference. Fun fact, Vivian and I will be running for state positions in our upcoming conference. Back to the point, Mr. Leake travels from campus to campus, motivating students and staff alike. On October 16th to 20th of this year, Bethany Elementary was honored to welcome him onto our campus. During his time at Bethany, Mr. Leake conducted 3 assemblies for groups of different grade levels. In TK to Second's assembly, he explained that the difference between superheroes and villains are how they use their power. To be a superhero, you need qualities such as being caring, honest, and being a good listener.
Third to fifth assembly was about bringing the right people with you and packing the right character traits on your journey through life. For our middle schoolers, Mr. Leake encouraged them to make their dreams a reality. He taught us that hard work, determination led to success. Is this the next button? Okay. In his classroom workshops, he further expanded on the assembly topics through incentivized games and hands-on activities. He also took the time to answer students' questions and interact with them in a more personal way. Here's some key takeaways that students from all grade levels had regarding the lessons Mr. Leake taught them. To recap the week, creatively named Brandon Leake Week. Get it? Because it rhymes. Anyway, our Instagram posted a reel including an introduction of who Mr. Leake is, as well as numerous photos from his assemblies, workshops, and time spent with students during recess. Thank you.
What up, my lovely females? This is your boy Costa, your host for the evening. Behind me is Thomas Cub's house. Today is Thomas Cub's birthday, and this is Project X. Yo.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with your campaigns.
I was going to say best luck in your campaigns at state.
I will tell you from experience, campaigning is not always that fun.
It is good to start young, though, so good luck.
Indeed. Roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Benita Daniel.
Here.
Stephanie Olson.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Devika Vitolani.
Here.
Approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Boulay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And now I will backtrack and ask for student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry about that. The motion carries. Moving on to item 4, committee reports. District Advisory Committee, Trustee Boulay.
The next District Advisory Committee meeting is January 17th at 6:15 here in the boardroom.
District English Language Advisory Committee, Trustee Clements.
The next committee meeting is January 25th, 2024, here in the district office boardroom.
Thank you. And the Education Committee is me, and the next Education Committee meeting is January 16th at 6:30 in the PDC. Facilities Committee, Trustee Olson.
Nothing to report.
Policy Committee, Trustee Daniel.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. And the Safety Committee is mine. We heard safety updates from all sites, an ELOP update from Director Faubert, updates on Mountain House High School parking, dress code revisions, and lanyards from Principal Auerbach and VP Loya. And the next meeting is January 17th at 3:45 here in the boardroom. Wellness Committee, Trustee Olson.
The Wellness Committee met this afternoon in the Professional Development Center. All sites gave wellness updates and things are going well at all the sites. It was discussed about how mental health screeners are available for those who may need them for extra supports for students. And in January, there's going to be 2 parent projects. One is called the Parent Project, and it will be a 10-week session for parents, or that one's called Loving Solutions. And then the Parent Project is also around a 10-week program for students ages 7th to 12th grade and their families. And so those programs will be starting in January. And the sites shared out, they're still piloting social emotional learning programs. And there's various programs at various sites that people are looking into to make sure that they're getting the most engaging instruction for students. And the first review of the wellness plan for next year happened, and input was provided by the committee members, and farmers market dates have been scheduled and will be in March. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5, Governing Board Reports. Student Trustee Villani.
Good evening, esteemed board members. First off, I would like to say I'm extremely grateful for all of the holiday gifts. And I would like to begin my updates from Mountain House High School. So HOSA had their first mini comp on December 9th, and over 98 people qualified for the SLC Regional Conference, and we wish them the best of luck moving forward. They also had their first ever leadership conference this Saturday at Mountain House High School, and professionals were able to come in and lead student-led workshops, and they had lunch by culinary and an award session. Hackathon was able to take over 95 students to the San Francisco Exploratorium field trip on Friday, December 8th. And I was grateful enough to attend this event, and not only did I have lots of fun with my peers, but we were also able to have a great learning experience alongside. They also held 2 middle school workshops where they raised over $2,000 in funds. The kids were able to learn a lot of programming, and all of the parents were extremely proud and grateful. Speech and Debate had their winter showcase on December 10th, and the members had prepared months preparing their speech and memorizing it and being able to display it. And a very special thanks goes to all the district board members who were able to attend this event and make it extremely special to all the students presenting. They were all extremely happy that you guys were there. Interact Club was able to help the Rotary Club, and in the season of giving, they were able to create multiple Thanksgiving dinner baskets for the families who are less fortunate on November 19th. The Health Unity Club was able to have a card donation drive for child cancer patients. They have an ornamenting decorating workshop fundraiser coming up, and a movie night where all the proceedings will go to the NAFC charity. And the SMAP Youth Club on November 4th this year, they were able to conduct a 5K marathon run, which allowed over 350 participants to participate in this event, and it was covered by Mountain House Matters. Moving on to ASB updates, we have our Lip Dub coming up pretty soon, and last year it turned out really nice, and this year the theme is Maximus's 10th birthday, throwback style, so we are extremely excited to see the end results. And as finals are coming up, leadership is holding a Connections Week this week to make sure that all students are comfortable and prepared for finals. And lastly, the Senior Parent Committee is selling final day care packages for all student support. For sporting updates, basketball and soccer season has started, as well as wrestling at the high school. So we've just had multiple games and the students are starting to get involved, and they're going out to show their support, especially at our Kimball game, which we had recently. We had a lot of leadership students and our cheer team alongside. Additional high school updates is that on November 14th, we had a guest speaker who was able to discuss the usage of fentanyl, and we hope that our students were able to truly learn their message from those speeches. December 7th and 8th is the fall, we had the fall and winter dance production, Dance the Night Away, and great job to all our performers. The music winter concert is coming up on Thursday, December 14th at 6 p.m. This will include the orchestras and the middle school orchestras, as well as choir and band. And on November 3rd, we had our Biomedical Night of Excellence, and this was the, over 26 students were recognized, and they were juniors and seniors. Moving on to middle and elementary schools, we were able to have our first meeting today, just a couple hours back. I met with all of the ASB presidents from all the different schools, and it was really new to them, but it was really exciting to meet them all. And I was able to show them a little video of how the district board meetings work, and they were really excited. So hopefully we will see them soon here. And Bethany is having a gift giving for families, and they have their middle school dance coming up, as well as they were able to sign up for HOSA, and they're currently selling Dippin' Dots as their fundraiser. I think it's really interesting to see students starting at such a young age, because HOSA is such a large club. And Lammersville is having a pep rally before their next basketball game, and they have character trait awareness assemblies. Cuesta is having a spirit week and a reindeer fun run as their fundraiser, and they also have a winter dance coming up. Altamont recently had their Winterfest auction. They have upcoming basketball games and the Valentine Day dance. Wickland has Spirit Day lunchtime activities. They have their winter dance coming up and basketball games. And lastly, Costa had a fun run, or is having a fun run event to raise money for schools. And I would just like to take a moment to reflect on the conference that we all were able to recently attend. It was just a wonderful experience. My mom and I had a great time over there. We were able to learn a lot of new things, meet a lot of new people, and definitely I will be applying it to future meetings. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Clements?
I knew you were going to call on me first. I managed to lose my my notes over the holiday, or right before, in the madness before the holiday. I did attend the CSBA conference this past week with the rest of the school board. That was a great event. It's always a learning opportunity. And once again, I did focus my the breakout session education on equity and special education, two subjects that are near and dear to my heart. Also, I would like to wish all of the teachers and classified staff and administrative team of the district and all the schools a very safe, healthy, and happy holiday season. You have all earned some time off, so please enjoy it. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Boulay.
Thank you. It has been a little over a month since our last meeting, so it was a busy month. I'm just going to highlight a few things that I did. On November 7th, I had a great site visit at Bethany with Mrs. Ritchie. And during that visit, I was focused primarily on visiting the middle school classes and looking at their block scheduling. And the feedback that I got from teachers is that they're really enjoying it. They feel like they have a little more time with the students and are able to get more involved in projects. So that seems like it's going great, and I look forward to seeing where that leads. And I want to thank Mrs. Ritchie for hosting me. On November 14th, I attended the fentanyl assembly at the high school, and the speaker that was there was amazing. She did a great job. She presented the facts on fentanyl and other opioid use in a just a non-judgmental way. And my hope is that she connected with some of the students, even if she connected with one student, hopefully it will make a difference. Major Manning's mom and sister were there as well, and I think they made an impact with the students also. And I think that was important to have that, because I think these days kids need to have that message delivered frequently, not just once in 5th grade, but frequently. And I knew we do it here and there in high school in different classes, but I think the more that we can do it, I think the better impact that's going to have. I also attended the CSBA conference, and again, really got a lot out of it. I attended some great sessions, was exposed to new and upcoming programs and policies and best practices, and networked with our team and also with board members from other districts and superintendents, and so that was very beneficial. This weekend, I attended a couple events that were hosted by parent volunteers. I went to the Altamont Winter Festival and Wickland's Jingle Bell Run, had a great run with Trustee Olson and Mrs. Perez. That was awesome. And I want to thank all the parents for their hard work, for everything that they do, parents and staff, for all the fundraising they do for our students, because it's logistically, it's challenging and it's time consuming. And so I really appreciate that. And finally, I want to wish all of our students, staff, and families a safe and memorable winter break. So one more week to get through. Okay, 1.5 weeks, but you got this. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Daniel.
Thank you, President. So on November 14th, I attended the our district Spelling Bee competition event. Congratulations to all those who participated, and I would like to especially congratulate Arush Narahari, who became the Spelling Bee champion for the elementary level. And he belongs to our district. So congratulations to him. On November 14th, I attended the first ever Friendsgiving at Wickland. Lots of fun activities, and I got to witness a lot of families who were having a great time. It was a rainy day, and there was a lot of people who actually enjoyed the event and pinning thank you notes on the Thanksgiving tree and so on. So great job on organizing it. A big thank you to all the volunteers who made it a special event. On November 17th, I was invited to attend the 9th Annual Leadership Retreat Program organized by Asian Pacific American Leadership Foundation, and I represented as a trustee of Lammersville Unified School District. From November 29th to December 2nd, I attended the CSB Annual Conference along with my fellow trustees. I gained valuable knowledge necessary to better perform my duties here. So I'm sitting here today with a little more wisdom than earlier, and I hope to put that into action. I was able to network with a lot of other board members too, so it's always a great event, and it continues to be. On December 10th, I was honored to attend the Mountain House High School Speech and Debate Winter Showcase. I was happy to witness the hard work and dedication of all our speech and debate students, Special thank you to our student board member who invited us, and also great job to the debate advisors and all the students who participated. December 13th, that's today, at 3:45, I attended the Wellness Committee along with Trustee Olson. I would like to wish all the high school kids all the very best for their finals. Do well. And to everyone here and to the community and to our students, wish you all a very joyful, relaxed, and happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
As has been mentioned, well, first, Trustee Clements, you're not the only one that forgot your notes. I forgot my notes, and I believe, Dr. Nicholas, I attended the CSD meeting in November, but I don't have my notes, so I cannot state the date, but I did attend and report for Lammersville Unified, and I could not attend tonight, obviously, because of December, the meetings are the same time, so nobody is reporting about Lammersville tonight. But I attended the CSD meeting to report to them, and they really do appreciate the reports from Lammersville, and I commend whoever was the board member that came up, or the board at the time that came up with that idea. That was a great idea.
I believe that was Trustee Lampel.
So,
Please so.
yeah. And I, as was mentioned, attended the annual education conference for CSBA. Always very enlightening. I always gained so much. My focus, as Trustee Clements says, I enjoy attending special education classes, but I also enjoy the legal classes about legal issues facing school districts and the budget classes, because that's a very hot topic right now. So those are the areas of workshops that I focused on this time, and as was mentioned, was a great opportunity to network and learn from other districts and learn how to be better as a board member. On December 9th, I had the honor of participating in the Jingle Run, the Jingle All the Way 5K, and got to cross the finish line with the VIP of the event, Principal Perez and Trustee Boulay. So that was like an honor, and I appreciate them going at the broken toe pace of me. And on the 10th, I attended the speech and debate showcase, and some talented people. I love debate, and I was really impressed with the different styles that they were doing, and I didn't get to stay to hear who won the debate, so hopefully you can fill me in after the meeting, but that concludes my report.
Thank you. On November 2nd, I attended the aforementioned facilities meeting. On November 8th, I attended the CSBA regional Zoom meeting for delegates. And then in the that evening, I attended special LUSD meeting and the board workshop. On 11/13, I met with County Superintendent Troy Brown and other county and CSBA representatives to discuss revitalizing the County Boards Association. On November 15th, I attended the Safety Committee meeting, and on that evening, I attended the Parent Digital Literacy Workshop and the Friendsgiving event at Wickland Elementary. On November 16th, another special board meeting, and the 27th, another special board meeting. On November 28th and 29th, I attended the CSBA Delegate Assembly in San Francisco, which is happens prior to the annual education conference that I also attended on November 30th through December 2nd. And as my fellow board members mentioned, there are lots of very interesting sessions. I typically focus on governance and safety at our schools. I've been on the safety committee for a long time, and it's important to me that our kids are not only safe, but feel safe at school. On December 8th, I attended the Altamont Winter Wonderland. A lot of fun. I even ended up with a few baskets and such. On December 10th, I attended the Speech and Debate Showcase along with some of my fellow board members and was very impressed with the presentations that we witnessed. We have some very, very talented speakers and debaters at the high school. Earlier today, I attended the CSBA Regional Zoom meeting, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's music program at Mountain House High School. And that concludes my report. Item 6, receiving of public comments. The entire board appreciates hearing from members of the community and public at large. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during the board's consideration of each agenda item. Government Code Section 54954.3. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public also may bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent or designee or take it under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. The board may place the matter on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. I have no blue cards. Would anyone in the audience like to make a public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, consent items for consideration. Governing board meeting minutes, contracts under $50,000, ratification of certificated and classified personnel actions, ratification of budget revisions for October 2023, warrant list for October and November of 2023, ratification of school-sponsored overnight trips, updated fundraisers, acceptance of a donation of $650 from Lammersville School Foundation towards Lammersville Elementary School 6th grade science camp. Would any member of the board like to remove an item or have further discussion on any of these items?
Move to approve consent items.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, district administrative reports. Dr. Nicholas.
So we're going to put up here yesterday.
Excuse me, I jumped the gun. I should not have called you yet. Our clerk is going to do the honors now.
We'd like to welcome the following new hires to the Lammersville Unified School District family. Erica Asturias, Registered Behavior Technician. Ramya Balaji, Special Education Instructional Aide. Maria Casillas, Accounting Specialist. Anam Haider, ELOP Instructional Aide. Sarah Sindhu Mozzarella, Noon Duty Supervisor. Isabel Morrison, Mathematics Teacher. Arti Palsanaya, Special Education Instructional Aide. Yashadara Patil, Food Service Worker. And Claudine Perez, Noon Duty Supervisor. Welcome.
Thank you, and now you may proceed, Dr. Nicholas.
So yesterday, Roebling Construction, as a thank you and a holiday acknowledgement, created a little barista here for all of the district staff. And while they were here, they were playing this, and we asked them for a thumbnail of it. So we're going to let this play while I go through some information. And it runs for about 7 minutes. So I think through Director Dixon's report, we'll just keep it up and running. But it's kind of cool to see an aerial of a massive structure get built. So enjoy, but obviously we have some very exciting things to share with you as well.
Would it be possible to post this on the district website?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so in the last couple of days, we received $42,000 in settlement from the Juul lawsuit. The Juul is the vaping, targeting kids to smoke, get a customer for life when they're young lawsuit. The money is going to go towards vaping prevention or health-related matters regarding smoking, but we made a decision. It was kind of an interesting discussion, if I recall, but we thought we would join it and see what happened. But $42,000 is thank you very much, and I think it's a good outcome that the corporation is paying for the damage that they did. Trustee Daniel hit it, but we did have a sixth grader from Hanson win qualify for the state championships in April on the spelling bee, Arush Narahari. And so congratulations, and we're very proud of the effort. And so that is my report.
I think the qualifying for state deserves an applause.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, district enrollment report.
So we hit 7,800 students in enrollment, and it's growing rapidly. We already have a large number of people we're interested in being part of the highest performing school district in San Joaquin County and the greater region.
Thank you. District maintenance and operation report. Director Dixon.
Thank you. Okay, so bleacher inspections were completed at Mountain House High School for both gyms, Monday 11/6 and 11/7. All the lights were replaced in the pool last week, Monday on 12/4 and Tuesday 12/5, so they work now. The pool itself is being difficult again. Both heaters are having issues we're working through. We had a small pinhole gas leak detected at Wickland last week, and one of the underground vaults was repaired and patched back in 24 hours. A pipe also burst at Wickland, partially flooding a room. Pipe was repaired and room carpet was cleaned and dried overnight. Nothing was really lost or damaged. Fire extinguisher was used after some equipment fire in a high school room. The room and carpet was both cleaned that evening and the fire extinguishers were replaced. The district office deep cleaning, including carpets, is scheduled over Christmas break. No issues with civic permits. Dates for groups to sign up in January are being sent out this week. I believe that'll be around January 16th, but we'll know for sure when we send it out. Milk waste collection containers have been introduced to the sites as part of the new Cal Recycle law. Altamont is going to be our first school to roll the program out starting in January. We're going to train the students there and learn from our mistakes and then roll it out to the rest of the schools. Staffing, we have one open in grounds and maintenance position. Not a lot of applicants, but we're looking to interview next week. 2 openings in operations currently, 1 in the warehouse and 1 custodian. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. President.
Certainly.
I wanted to thank district staff for jumping on the natural gas leak and getting it, fixed like immediately. Obviously, when I read the email that there was a leak, I was very concerned, but I was very excited to see how fast we moved things to make that, to resolve that situation. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you indeed. Item 9, action items. Consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 232408 to rescind Governing Board Resolution 232406 regarding intent to initiate a transition from at-large to by trustee area board elections commencing with the 2024 board elections. Staff report?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Mr. Harold Freeman, Esquire, our attorney, or one of our attorneys from Lozano Smith. He is going to have a short presentation for the board regarding the California Voting Rights Act.
And actually, we're starting on this item first on the action to rescind. So we'll save the presentation to the superintendent. We'll save the presentation for the next item, actually. So I was just going to do a verbal presentation on this item. And essentially what's transpired is that the district had adopted a resolution back on October 24th of 2023, resolution number 23-24-06, that was a resolution of intent to move to by trustee area elections. And we're going to talk about that more on the next item, from the current at-large elections that occur in the district. And that process commenced. There were a number of public hearings, there were maps prepared, but on November 22nd, an attorney submitted a letter contending that the district did not comply with the Brown Act, which is California's open meeting law, about the way that technically items were put on the closed session agenda in relation to potential litigation around these issues. And in that letter, made a demand for a cure and correct by the school district, specifically asking that or demanding that the district cure the Brown Act alleged violation by nullifying the prior resolution of intent to move to by trustee area elections and restarting any process to move to by trustee area elections, which under the Brown Act triggers a 30-day time period once you receive that demand for the district to decide either to cure and correct by taking the demanded action and rescinding the prior resolution, and in this case, starting the process again, or taking the position that there was no Brown Act violation. The resolution that's before you tonight on this item is specific to rescinding the prior action, basically taking out resolution number 23-24-06. It is not an admission of any Brown Act violation, nor do we feel that there was a Brown Act violation, but the Brown Act allows to the school district the opportunity to rescind the prior action and to make the cure and correct without conceding in any way that there was any violation of the law. It's essentially done to avoid litigation. If the board adopts this resolution, it will rescind the prior action, although the next agenda item you have tonight would be to retake that action, again in open session. And we would, if the resolution is passed pursuant to the Brown Act, we would contact the attorney that sent the demand letter, inform them that the action was taken, and thereby hopefully moot this entire process. So that's just a brief overview of the purpose of the resolution that's before you tonight.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by the board?
If I may?
Certainly.
So as I understand it, the board as a group has a choice. We can choose to fight it out and spend money doing so, which would pull money out of the classrooms and the education of our children, or we could say, all right, fine, we don't think we did anything wrong, but in the interest of expediency and keeping money in the classroom, we're going to go ahead and nullify the previous resolution and consider adopting a new resolution to restart the process. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's exactly correct.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments by the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve Governing Board Resolution 23-24-8 to rescind Governing Board Resolution 23-24-6 regarding intent to initiate a transition from at-large to by trustee area board elections commencing with the 2024 board election.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Colin Clements,
Aye.
David Pombo,
Aye.
Lisa Boulay,
Aye.
Benita Daniel,
Aye.
Stephanie Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. On to item B, consider and potentially adopt Resolution 232409, intent to initiate a transition from at-large to by trustee area board elections commencing with the 2024 board elections. Staff report?
Yes, we're going to defer to Mr. Freeman again.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And here I'm going to share my screen if all goes well. We did a test on this earlier, so hopefully it will, for just a brief presentation. as this loads up. Success. Hopefully everybody can see what's on the screen. Good, excellent. So what I was going to do is, this is a relatively short presentation, and the board's had the opportunity to hear a lot of this information before, but we wanted to put it in context for tonight's action, and then obviously for any members of the public who may not have been aware of or attending prior meetings where these issues had been discussed. So really, we're here tonight to talk a little bit about the Voting Rights Act. Just to frame the conversation, you just rescinded the board's prior action by action of this board of a resolution of intent to move to by trustee area elections. This resolution, if adopted tonight, that's your next item that you're now considering, will essentially restart that process and quite literally restart the process from scratch. And so we wanted to talk just a little bit about what that process is. And so tonight, we're just going to give a very brief overview of the California Voting Rights Act to put this all in context. We're going to remind you of what the process is, since we're restarting it, to make the transition to by trustee area elections. Just briefly mention what steps had already occurred, and then talk about the next steps moving forward. So just as an overview of the California Voting Rights Act, or you'll hear us say CVRA to save time sometimes, the board's current method of election, which is the default in California when a school board is created, when a school district is created, if you don't select otherwise, you become an at-large district. And in an at-large district, everybody in the district votes for all seats on the board. So you see our graphic here of everybody lives within the district, all the registered voters, and the trustees are elected by the election of all of those voters. But the California Voting Rights Act, which has been on the books for quite some time now, prohibits at-large elections if it results in racially polarized voting and vote dilution. And those are sort of technical ways of saying, are protected classes of individuals or minority groups not able to elect their preferred candidates? And I always have to emphasize, it doesn't mean those candidates are themselves protected classes. It's the candidates that are preferred by the voters in those protected classes. Are they able to elect their preferred candidates, or essentially is their vote drowned out by the vote of the majority? And so that's really what the CVRA concerns itself with. And the idea is to protect the rights of the protected classes to try to elect the candidates of their choice. What's happened across the state under the CVRA is lawsuits and demands to make the move to by trustee area elections. And there's examples from around the state, but the way that the CVRA is written, it's very difficult for a public agency to successfully defend a CVRA lawsuit. There's in fact not a single case that a public agency has won when challenged under the California Voting Rights Act. And there's examples of this from around the state. This litigation can be very time consuming, can be very costly. We have just a few examples up here of settlements that have taken place in lawsuits just for what is paid to plaintiffs' counsels in this different types of lawsuits. The case at the top is the one that is ongoing involving the city of Santa Monica. This case has been going on for enough years that I can't tell you how many years it's been going on at this point. And the city of Santa Monica lost at the trial court level, won at the appellate court level, and then that was reversed by the California Supreme Court. It's gone back to the trial court for more litigation. And already the demand is understood to be by the plaintiffs in that case of $22 million, on top of which we understand that the city has spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $11+ million itself. And that number is probably low. So that gives you an idea just of the scale of these kinds of litigation. And that doesn't count the cost that districts and cities and other special districts spend on their own attorneys defending these cases. So particularly with that in mind, there is under the CVRA essentially a safe harbor, which is to move to by trustee area elections. And so now I get to explain what a by trustee area election is. Basically, you take your district You divide it into 5 parts that are approximately equal by population. It's not by area, it's by population. And there's a small variable of 10% differentiation, 5% higher or lower from the mean as between each of these election districts. And the trustees that live in that district vote for the trustee that will be elected to the board from that district. That trustee must live in that trustee area. So if you move to those by trustee area elections under the California Voting Rights Act, you're in compliance with the California Voting Rights Act. That is why public agencies across the state are making this change. And we now see somewhere in the neighborhood, and the numbers fluctuate, probably around a fifth of the school districts in California have moved to by trustee area elections. And there are more that are making that change on a regular basis. So when we talk about making that transition, which again is the safe harbor if challenged, there's a number of steps you take. You adopt a resolution of intent. In this instance, you had adopted a resolution of intent previously that you've now rescinded. Here we now have a demand letter that you've received from an attorney. Again, it's this letter dated November 22nd, 2023, that makes demands about your current process of election. And that triggers a 45-day period that the board has to adopt the resolution that's before you tonight. And if you adopt that resolution in that 45-day period, and that period expires on December 22nd, so this is your last regular meeting before then, as I understand it, to adopt the resolution, that starts a further safe harbor period of 90 days to make the transition, during which nobody can successfully challenge the board for a violation of the California Voting Rights Act. And this is a process that the district voluntarily started before and is now looking at once again starting within these safe harbor clauses now. When you go through the process, and this will sound familiar to the board because you'd already gotten through much of this process, you have 2 public hearings that take place before maps are prepared by a demographer, the maps being the trustee area maps. You have 2 hearings that take place, public hearings, after maps are prepared to actually look at the different maps. So the pre-map hearings are really about getting input from the public, input from the board about what criteria you'd like to see in the maps, what's important to the board, what's important to the public. And then the 2 post-map hearings are to look at the results of what the demographer has generated, typically multiple maps to look at and to choose from. And finally, the board holds a map adoption hearing where it adopts a final by trustee area map. This is essentially saying, of these maps, this is the one that the board has selected for its elections moving forward. Unique to school districts, unlike other public agencies in California, under the education code, you then have to go to the county committee on school district organization, and they have to hold at least 1 public hearing to approve your change. The law essentially states that they will review your map, and they'll also review your proposed sequencing of school board members as to which of these trustee areas are going to hold elections in what years. So you will continue to stagger your elections like you do now with 3 in one election cycle and 2 in another. So you'd be identifying to the county committee which of the trustee areas will fall into the every 2-year election, then every 4-year election, so that they roll over each other. We call that, again, sequencing. And the county committee either approves that proposal or denies that proposal. That's what the law says. It doesn't say the county committee rewrites your proposal. It says it either approves it or denies it. And so that is the process that you go through. When we talk about what's transpired to date, you have already adopted the prior resolution, which you've now rescinded, that was back on October 24th. You had held the hearings that are noted here on November 1st, 8th, and 16th. To gather public input on various aspects of the transition. So you'd started down this road, but then November 22nd, this demand letter came. And that is why we are here tonight to, again, consider restarting the process. So the step you just took was to rescind your prior resolution. You now have a new resolution, 23-24-09, before you. That would be the subject matter of tonight's action. And it will start your process anew if adopted. And the resolution expressly states It literally will start the process anew without reference to the prior maps, without reference to the steps that were taken previously. You are literally starting the process over again. And one of the things that we want to emphasize is that in this resolution, we recognize, and just as a general point, the importance of enhanced community outreach throughout the districting process, making sure that people are aware of the process, doing outreach to various different organizations and school groups, trying to do the best that the district can to maximize that participation. It doesn't always work in my experience that it necessarily results in a lot of people coming out and getting interested, but it's certainly important to show that you've done all you can to get people interested. And then it's up to them how they respond to that invitation to these different steps in the process. So that's really the overview of where we've been and where we're going. Again, tonight, if you adopt this resolution, you're starting the process again. It starts a new 90-day safe harbor clock during which you cannot be sued successfully for a violation, alleged violation of the California Voting Rights Act. And that 90-day period ends on March 12th. So a calendar would be prepared for the next rounds of these public hearings to meet all of the appropriate timelines. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions about the action tonight.
Questions or comments by the board?
If I may. Thank you very much for the presentation and the information. It's information that maybe not quite as detailed in terms of the actual lawsuits, but I want to reiterate a couple of facts that are my understanding. Number one, a number of school districts and other agencies in the state have decided for their own reasons that going to trustee by area does not eliminate or substantially reduce the quote unquote racially polarized voting and vote dilution, and therefore have gone to court to argue that they should remain trustee at large, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And not one of those school districts or governmental agencies have ever successfully argued against going to trustee by area and remaining trustee at large. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And some of those school districts have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions of dollars in that attempt. Is that correct?
That is also correct.
And that money that a district would spend essentially comes out of the classroom. It comes out of their budget. You can only spend your money that you get once, and that money would come out of the classroom and into the litigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not an attorney, and I don't profess to understand the nuances of racially polarized voting and vote dilution, but it seems to me that the California courts have spoken fairly clearly. And if we look at just statistical analysis of the past without a theoretical evaluation of our specific school district, we don't want to be on the bleeding edge. We don't want to be the school district that spends hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars testing the theory. It seems to me that if you're looking at the past and the predominance of court precedent, school districts in the state of California have essentially two choices. They can go to trustee by area, or they can wait until they're sued and then go to trustee by area. At least as it relates to the current court precedent, is that a fair statement?
That is the history we have to date in California, yes.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Just to piggyback on Trustee Clement's questions and remarks. The fact that a district chooses to go to trustee by area does not mean that they believe that they were in violation of the California Voting Rights Act, only that they wish to avoid future litigation. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is. And actually, in your resolution, both the prior resolution you adopted and tonight's, there is no admission that there is any violation of the CBRA.
Thank you. Further questions or comments by the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adopt Resolution 23-24-09, intend to initiate a transition from at-large to by trustee area board elections, commencing with the 2024 board election.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Boulay and seconded by trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Aye.
Colin Clements,
Aye.
Benita Daniel,
Aye.
Stephanie Olson,
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item C, consider approval of 2023-2024 inter and intra-district transfer requests. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve 2023-2024 inter and intra-district transfer requests.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consider approval of 2024-2025 interdistrict transfer requests. Motion?
Move to approve the 2024-2025 inter-district transfer request.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Boulay and seconded by trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consider approval of agreement for legal services with Lozano Smith for the 2023-2024 school year. Staff report?
Yes, staff recommends this. Lozano Smith provides significant legal advice to us on a myriad of issues ranging from HR-related issues, employee issues, legal issues, state law issues, etc. We recommend approval.
Move to approve the agreement for legal services with Lozano Smith for the 2023-2024 school year, with a comment that I have really appreciated their advice and counsel over the years.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Are there any questions or comments on this item from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, consider approval of first interim financial report for the 2023-2024 school year. Staff report?
Yeah, this is an interesting time for first interim financial reports for us. First of all, we want to thank Gloria Grijalva and Alvina Kaiser and their team for once again making the budget work and meeting the 2 out years in paying our bills. It's been an interesting time economically, and for the past couple of years, COLA, cost of living adjustments, have been substantial and generous of the state in comparison to what they've done with COLAs in the past. This year, in the January budget proposal by the governor, the anticipated COLA for next year was 3.94%. Tax revenues were delayed twice in terms of the taxation that came in by the state, allowing people to file late. The anticipated tax revenue is significantly lower than what they were anticipating. So the 3.94% COLA has been reduced down to a 1% COLA anticipation. So that tells you how significant the decline in the tax revenues. Now, there's 1 month left in the year. Stock market hit a record. California's tax pool typically comes from investment portfolios. That's like the significant lion's share of the tax revenue. I have no idea if that will impact it. But at present, I asked Gloria, Assistant Superintendent Grijalva, to have the first interim report not reflect the 3.94%, but the 1%. If we adjust up, great for everybody, but we need to be candid about the realities of the difference between a near 4% COLA and a 1% COLA. So that's what's in this report. And in spite of that shift, we can pay for our bills in the 2 out years. So again, Assistant Superintendent Grijalva, Director Kaiser, thank you for your good work.
And I would just like to thank Assistant Superintendent Grijalva and Director Kaiser for their work, as did the superintendent. I spent quite some time this afternoon going over the numbers, and my head still hurts.
Well, I will move to approve the first interim financial report for the 2023-2024 school year with my heartfelt thanks to the financial team.
I will second that with also heartfelt thanks.
On a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consider approval of 2023-2024 independent auditor selection form. Staff report.
Yes, this is an annual form approval, and we recommend the form to be approved.
Move to approve 2023-2024 independent auditor selection form.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Are there any further questions or comments by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, consider approval of audit certification form for the annual audit report ending June 30th, 2023. Staff report.
If you're going to approve one form, you might as well approve 2 forms. So we recommend this annual on the audit form.
Move to approve the audit certification form for the annual audit report ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Questions or comments by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, consider approval of 2022-2023 annual developer fee report. Staff report.
Again, an annual report on the fees charged through the development process, and we do this annual, and we recommend approval.
Move to approve the 2022-2023 annual developer fee report.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Questions or comments by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item J, consider approval of second reading and adoption of updated board policies and administrative regulations. Staff report.
Yes, this is the last step of the last tranche of board policies and administrative regulations, and we recommend approval.
Move to approve the second reading and adoption of updated board policies and administrative regulations.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
And I would just like to say thank you to all the members of the policy committee for trudging through these tranches of regulations and bringing them to us in a palatable form. Further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item K, consider approval of new classified job description and salary schedule effective January 1st, 2024. Staff report.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a 57-year-old moment there. Item K. Sorry, I went to say something and it didn't fire, and then I started thinking, what did he say? I apologize. I won't be the last time that happens. So the district keeps growing. We're at 7,800 students, and as time goes on, we need to look at our systems. Our enrollment and our attendance system is crucial to the income of the district. That's where we get our money. So ADA is derived from the attendance rate applied to the enrollment. ARIES is our student information system. We've been surviving with a person playing 2 roles and a backfill of a sub. We've reached a point of mass effect, and this position will be able to split that person's double duties and have them do what they're actually assigned to do, and have someone focus in to make sure attendance, our enrollment, and our area's activities are sound. So we recommend approval.
Move to approve the new classified job description and salary schedule effective January 1st, 2024 for student services technician.
Second.
Just late every time.
On a motion by trustee Boulay and seconded by trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Questions or comments by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item L, consider approval of legal services agreement with Special Education Counsel Dennis Wolliver Kelly for the 2023-2024 school year. Staff report?
Yes, we made a decision to move on from a previous attorney firm related to our special ed support, and this is the replacement. We recommend approval.
Move to approve legal services agreement with Special Education Counsel Dennis Wolliver Kelly, DWK, for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Further questions or comments by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, information and discussion items. Board Governance Handbook. Staff report?
Yes, the board directed me to do a review with the board of the board handbook. We did one in 2021, and then we just did a review in the workshop recently. That is process. Part of the process is complete. The next step is we have identified Mary Hopewell to come in and facilitate a second workshop related to the board self-reflection. And we are in the process of identifying dates to share with the board for scheduling that. And the theme of that will be based on a lot of factors, but also Patrick Lencioni's The Motive, and each board member has been given that book.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or discussion by the board?
I have a couple of comments that I just wanted to make note of. During that that workshop, we did add a couple of, I think, pretty important bullets to the handbook. And one of them is, given that we are moving in the direction of by area voting, we have added a blurb, a bullet, a statement to the effect that all of the trustees will continue to represent all of the schools regardless of our voting area, regardless of where we reside. So I'm a Wickland resident, but I will still represent all of the schools, still go to activities at all the schools, still do site visits, and I will represent all the schools equally without preferential treatment for any one school. So I think that's important for all of us up here to remember that, and also any new candidates that potentially may be interested in running in the future. The other thing that we added is a bullet that we will make it a priority as board members to attend all the board meetings, because this is where we do the work, this is where we get the information, this is where we have the discussions, we hear the opinions of our constituents, and we make the final decision. So we did add that blurb as well to our board handbook. Thank you.
And I agree. I think both of those additions are important, and it's very important to me that I represent the entire district, not a portion of the district, and I'm glad that we memorialize that in our governance handbook, because I hope that future boards feel the same way and it doesn't become divisive between the Wickland board member and the Lammersville board member and the Cuesta board member. We very much opposed to that, and in fact, that's one of the things we'll be asking the demographers to make sure of when they draw the maps up, whenever possible, is not following attendance area lines, boundaries.
Yeah, Trustee Palmer, I just wanted to add to that with respect to the attendance. I just wanted to point out, because it might I think it's something important that when a board member when one of us cannot make the meeting, I think that maybe in the practice, some board members may not realize you can share that information with everyone, because that's not a Brown Act violation, that's just information. And I think it's critical information, because there could be a situation where we would wind up without a quorum if somebody's gone and nobody else is aware that that person's gone, and then something happens in their life. So I just was, going to ask the board if everyone's okay with that, like with it as a practice, and when one of us is going to be gone, that we just let everyone know. I think that would just help make sure that we have a quorum.
Fine with me.
Okay.
Seems reasonable.
I agree.
Further questions or comments by the board? Moving on to item B, DARE graduations. Staff report.
So
I had a 57.
we have an update on some DARE graduation dates. It's just for the board's information.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, attendance update. Staff report.
Yes. We created the Student Services Department in anticipation of growth 4 years ago. And COVID hit about 3 months after we got that rolling. And boy, did we dodge a bullet. And we picked the right person to run the department. Now that we're in a different phase of education in the public, attendance, enrollment, social, emotional health of our students, all the supports for adults and families all come through this department. One of those areas of focus is attendance, because the state attaches how much money you have to do your things you want to do to the attendance. The hard work of Director Busatil and her team have resulted in some good information to share with the board, and I'm proud to be able to turn it over to her so she can share that.
Good evening, President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for having me here this evening, and I have some exciting news to share with everyone. So first off, just a brief summary of our celebrations this evening. So overall, for the 22-23 school year, we have increased our overall attendance rate for all students. We have decreased our chronic absenteeism rate for all students. And then we have improvement across all of our significant subgroup populations as well. So just as a reminder that one of the things that the state looks for to hold us accountable is chronic absenteeism, which is defined as a student absent 10% or more of the days, calculated dividing the total number of absences by the total number of school days the student is enrolled. And unlike truancy, this includes all absences, even if they're excused absences, illness, medical notes, anything, because it assumes that excessive absences impede student learning. And so that's part of our education code. So looking at our chronic absenteeism data, and I only did 21, 22, and then 22, 23, just because we know there was a little hiccup in there for everyone. And so if we're looking at, we have our LUSD data, and then our San Joaquin, and then statewide, and then each one of our significant subpopulations. And this information is public, and it is on DataQuest, so it's run by the California Department of Education, so that's where the numbers are pulled from. So for LUSD overall in 21-22, our chronic absenteeism rate was 15.1, and that dropped to 10.3 last school year. Compared to the 34.8 dropping to 28.9 for San Joaquin County, which is still a good improvement, but we're significantly better than that. And then statewide, also there was a drop from 30.8 to 25.4. If we go and we look at our significant subpopulation groups, our African American rate dropped like nearly in half from 28.8 to 14.5. Our Hispanic or Latino from 23.6 to 17.1. English learners from 16.9 to 14.1. Our special education students from 27% to 16.8. And then for our socially economically disadvantaged student from 31.9 to 20.9. So we had significant improvements across all of our subpopulations, which is we talked about before. When our students are in our classrooms with our great staff, classified and certificated, receiving instruction, that's how we're able to make the most positive impact. And reducing the chronic absenteeism data is going to show gains in other areas as well. So overall, our attendance rate went from 94% to 96%, and we always have a really, really high bar for our attendance, and we never like to see it get to anything below 96. So when it was 94, even though it was things that was beyond our power, it was still something that made us very uncomfortable as a district, because once again, we want our students in our classrooms at our school sites when they're well enough to attend school. So looking ahead, we are going to continue to focus on positive school attendance, and so that is making school a fun place for students to attend, positive relationships with staff, students interacting with their classroom teachers, with instructional aides, noon duty supervisors, site administrators, making sure that we're remaining diligent and accurate with our record keeping. So when students return from independent study, making sure that we're marking those independent study contracts as complete. And if they're not complete, then making sure we're following up on that process as well. Utilizing Saturday school for our 7th through 12th grade students to help them restore positive attendance and for us to recoup ADA. We want to make sure that we're providing support to students and our families. So that is things through like Parent Project, because often what we hear for our students that are having difficulty attending is there's other concerns in the household as well. And so sometimes what our parents are looking for is a community and network to help support them through like the Parent Project cohorts that we're going to be starting in January. Also helping our students and families that may be experiencing homelessness. And as I shared before, our homeless population doesn't look typical to what you might see in some larger urban districts, but we still have students that are experiencing those hardships. So making sure that we're identifying those students and providing the support for them to get to school on time every single day. And then making sure that we have a multifaceted approach to student safety and wellness, so that we're taking care of students' social emotional learning needs, we're looking after mental health and wellness, that we're providing high quality instruction across all areas so that classrooms feel engaging and safe for all of our students to attend. So that is what we're looking forward to maintain that, the gains that we made from last year going into this school year. Any questions?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment that when I saw this on the agenda, I was really nervous because I didn't, you can't see the presentation. So I'm really, really glad that this is a very positive report. So thank you very much. And now I feel a little more at ease.
I did have one question. Just what do you think are the factors, like what did you do that led to this improvement? Because that's some significant improvement.
We talk about student attendance a lot. We really, really do. It's on nearly every admin forum agenda. We have the monthly attendance clerk meetings. It's things that we touch on during the office supervisors meetings. It's a lot of looking at reports, which I'm happy to have a partner with that, and Director Faubert this year. So it's really looking at reports, helping school site administrators to understand what the reports mean and what they're implying and where to follow up. So I think it's really just diligence across each tier of our district. In the attendance clerk meetings, I tell them that you guys are like one of the most important staff members that we have, because that helps to drive everything else. So I think it's just a multifaceted approach to looking at and reviewing attendance and keeping it in the forefront.
Well, great. I mean, great job. It's really, really great news. I have to echo what Trustee Boulay said. I was a little nervous about what we were going to hear. So,
I have a comment and a question. So, I already talked about this with Dr. Nicholas today through the agenda, and I got the magic number already. However, I remember the day last year when you were standing at the same place and you shared, we're at 94, but you were not happy with that. And today, I think, great job to you and your team. Through the approach that you explained, we have achieved 96. So congratulations to everyone. The question that I have is, how many students participate in the Saturday school? I know we had one last Saturday.
I would have to go and double check for each Saturday school. The high school has our largest participation, and then the elementary schools, it's starting to pick up a little bit more during this time of year. So I would have to double check because I wouldn't want to give you inaccurate information.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I wanted to say thank you very much. Those are fantastic results. But I did want to make a comment, and this is going to be repetitive for virtually everybody on the board. But anytime we talk about attendance and the importance of improving attendance or maintaining high attendance, I invariably get comments from members of the public that we're only interested in the ADA. We're only interested in the money. And so because we're focusing on this, I feel like I have to say that, and when I love it when somebody in the community actually pulls me aside and makes that comment, because I have the ability to kind of give them the analysis. And I'm like, let's say that each of our kids are gone 10% of the time, right? That means that our classroom, on average, is only 90% full. And the teachers, though, it's not like we can pay them 90%, right? They earn every dollar that they get. And actually, if our classrooms are only 90% full and it's different kids that are gone because they're only gone 10%, it actually makes the teacher's job harder to get all of those children educated to the level that they need to be by the end of the year. So they earn it and then some, but we only get 90% of the ADA, so we take a hit financially. But the salaries of the teachers remains the same. The librarians, the district staff, all of that remains the same. The dollars that we get go down, and we can only spend the money once. So it's going to come out of all the other things that these parents want for their children. And, so anyway, I'm like, it's not all about the money, but it's about being able to teach the children, and they have to be in the classroom in order to do that. And yes, it's about being able to get the money that you're going to have to pay anyway. We are assigning teachers the students for a full classroom, and they need to teach a full classroom. If they only teach 90% of the time, they're doing about 110% of the work.
Trustee Clements, if I could just add to that, many moons ago, before I was on the board, years before I was on the board, I was a mom. And I had a very zoomed in lens of my children and, well, my kids are sick. Why do they care if they're at school? They only care about the money attitude, because I was zoomed in on just, my perspective. Now, being on the board has opened my perspective, but being a school teacher, it is really not just about the money, because I can say from a teacher lens, I have students that miss a lot of school and it impacts them. They miss out on so much, and it's really sad for me to see them missing out on these things and these opportunities, because every day that they miss, it makes it even harder for them to make up and catch up. And when you're teaching special education, especially, it just compounds it. So, it really isn't just about the money. I think when people want kids there, it's more about their well-being and their success and the mission and vision of our district, which is to get these students to be lifelong learners, career and college ready.
When I have parents approach me and tell me that it's all about the money, that we don't care about anything but the money, I tell them couldn't be further from the truth. What we care about is the well-being and education of our students, and the money is the means to that end. And if we don't get the money, we can't spend it on the kids, and for me, that's the bottom line. Further questions or comments by the board?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, LUSD infographics, staff report.
Yeah, Associate Superintendent Harrison is going to review the infographic. It's a brainchild of his, and he brought it here, and it's kind of evolved over time, but again, the numbers in it reflect the wisdom of the board in that the money's being put to good use through staffing and tools and teaching, because these are the results of our kids' work.
Okay, I am maneuvering a mouse, paper, and the screen, so...
I thought you were having a 57-year-old moment.
Mine are 54. Board President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas, thank you for having me tonight. I want to start this presentation by doing some thank yous and some affirmation to what Ms. Busatil just said to the board. What we are doing with the infographic and across the district with data is trying to come up with a data pool that shows the progress of our students. Not only all of our students, but the 20% that we really are trying to focus on this year as one of our goals. So before I get into this infographic, I want to thank Director Yohannan, who heads up our tech department. His team has done a ton of work to make this process sustainable. In the past, we've found data points from all over the place that we use in our LCAP to describe our district, to paint a picture of our district. Well, what we've been working on for a couple of years now is having a standardized pool of data that we pull from the same place. So the data is the same from year to year. And we pull the data at the same time so that the data over time is consistent, right? That goes on to this infographic for the public and for people to see. So Director Yohannan and his team have done a great job with this. Assistant Superintendent Sharp and her team of, I don't know how many, were a part of this process. Executive Director Busatil and her team were a part of this process to make this all work. It's a lot of moving pieces when you have multiple department data points coming into one piece of paper or one document, and to have consistency of data, which is what we've really been working on. And I think we're pretty close to that point. A couple of the data points on here we have adjusted on how we look at the data because it is more consistent with subgroups, and it gives us a better look at student outcomes by subgroup, and I'll comment more on that later. So with those thank yous and affirmations, I want to show you the public view of how this document will work. It's going opposite. Oh, thank you.
Use your right hand.
This is my right hand. Here we go. Okay. So the public view of this document, we have these tabs that can be pressed that give a brief description of what the data point is. So I'm not going to click every tab, but I just want you to see that when the public looks at this document when it's posted on the website, there's a place for them to see what it means, what the explanation is. So as I go through this document, I'm going to kind of describe how it works. Top right-hand corner, we have the date, which is October 2023. I know that's not today's date, but that's the date where the majority of the data ends. So that's our end point for the data, and that's where we're pulling everything from. In the middle, you see it says state priorities addressed. Those are the state priorities for the LCAP, thank you very much, that I'm addressing in the presentation and that we're addressing as a district. So this whole paper here addresses state priorities 2 and 4. And as we've reported before to the board, there's 8 state priorities that we address in LCAP, right? We've presented that a number of times. So under goal 1, which is a systematic closure of the opportunity gaps, we have pupil achievement. And under pupil achievement, we have the AP pass rate. So 79% of our students pass the AP exam with a 3 or higher. Now in that little acorn, you can see there's the 37%. That's the percentage of students at our high school that actually take an AP exam. So 37% of our students take an AP exam. And then moving to the right, you can see the percentages by subgroup, taking and passing an AP exam with a 3 or higher. Now, I'd like to point out that that little 37% in the acorn last year was 26%. So we've grown 11% of our population at the school site are taking AP exams, and our AP pass rate has stayed pretty consistent at 79%. So that's a boon to the teaching that we have going on for our kids. Moving down to the green box, the A to G readiness. So the A to G readiness involves UC system and the CSU system and what they're looking for students that enroll in colleges in California. 74% of our high school students show A to G readiness when they're a senior in high school. On the right, you can see the breakdown of our subgroups and the percentages that show A to G readiness. Moving down to the red box, This is our DF rate at the high school. One of the things that we monitor closely is our DF rate at the high school. We have kids taking 5 or 6 or 7 periods of class each semester, and what we want to know is how many kids are at risk of failing by analyzing the DNF rates by subgroup and overall. So the 15%, last year was 21%. So we're doing pretty well. We've decreased at the high school by 6%, the DF rate. Moving down further, the diagnostic reading assessment for our elementary students, 75% of our students are on track meeting standard overall. And on the right, you can see the breakdown by subgroup. Okay? At the bottom, we have a chart here that shows our enrollment by ethnicity, so that if anybody's interested, they can see TK8 and 912, what our breakdown for enrollment is. Moving up to the right, on the blue box, it says CASP. These are our CASP scores and the breakdown by subgroup. Superintendent Sharp gave a very comprehensive presentation on this at the last board meeting, so I won't go into it too extensively, but those are our scores, ELA and math. And then moving down to the green box, 79% of our students have a 3.0 GPA or better in our 912 school. And then you can see the breakdown by subgroup and ethnicity. Now this number is a celebration as well, because last year it was 71%. So this year, this year of reporting, so at the end of last school year, at the end of the fourth quarter or the last semester, we were at 79%.
Just
Yes.
an observation, and I'm sure that, well, I'm not sure, but I don't believe there's any data that backs this up. But it's interesting that as our attendance percentage goes up, so do a lot of these other numbers.
Agreed, and I think that the argument there as an educator, and I think everybody in this room would agree, the more days that you miss, the less instruction you're getting from our great teachers. And so your performance goes down. And I think that the 10 days or the 10% was chosen because that is the crux where if you go past that, you start losing your progress that you've made educationally. So, all right, moving on to the MAP assessments that we do in our district. You can see here that the percent proficient in ELA and math, 65 and 68, and then you can see the focus groups on the left. Moving down to CAS Science, this is a new data point. This used to be our early assessment program that was a part of the CASP testing. This year, staff, we all decided as a group that the CAS Science test that's given as a part of the CASP battery of tests is a more important data point to put on this infographic. So we added that this year along with the breakdown for the focus groups. Moving to the right, state standards, state priority number 2. We have the breakdown of the professional learning. So 11 teachers in the Blended Learning Academy, 71 teachers in the New Hire Academy, 291 teachers in Strategic Support K-8, and 302 teachers in the Impact Teams TK-12 learning opportunities. This is another place that this district excels in training and supporting our teachers with our coordinators, with our strategic planning of what we do with our professional development for our teachers. So that's why this is here under state priority number 2. Moving down, we have LPAC assessment. We had 869 students take the LPAC this year. That's this last year. That's 72 more students than we had the previous year. And 76% of those students were in the top 2 LPAC levels. And then under curriculum, this is one of our self-assessments that is a part of our accountability model for English language arts, for English language development, mathematics, and social science. On a scale of 1 to 10, we score ourselves at a 5 for implementation of the content standards. And then for next generation science standards, we score ourselves as a district as a 3 out of the 1 to 5 scale for full implementation of the academic standards for science.
I think you misspoke when you.
Oh, did I?
Yes, you said
1 to 10.
Scale.
Did I say 10?
You did. And I just wanted to clarify that.
57-year-old moment.
Your mouse is backwards.
Sorry, I apologize, 1 to 5. So for the next generation science standards, we score ourselves at a 3 because we are not fully implemented yet. We feel like we're at a 3, and we feel like next year we'll probably be at a 4, and the following year, hopefully we'll reach 5 status. We're pretty hard on ourselves on this scoring. It's a self-assessment, and so we felt like that was a fair assessment of ourselves. Okay, goal 2. Oh, thank you. So as you can see at the top, goal 2 and 3 address priorities 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8 as a part of the LCAP. On the left side, this is the basic state priority. The percent of students with standards aligned instructional materials is 100%. 91% of our teachers are fully qualified. Fully qualified means that they have a credential. They've done the classwork and they either have a preliminary or a professional clear credential. We have teachers that are on STIPs, PIPs, and different types of credentials that are still working towards finishing their program but are still in our classrooms. That is why that's at 91%, not 100%. Because the state does not think that those teachers are fully credentialed, even though they give the credentials for those teachers to be in our classroom.
Just a point of clarification. That doesn't necessarily mean that the teachers aren't qualified. It means that they don't have all the credentials that they could and should have.
Yes. And the only reason I use the word qualified is because that's what the CDE uses in this terminology. Moving to the right, the percent of facilities in good repair, we're at 100%. Moving down to parental involvement. So in 2021-22, we had 2 parent volunteers. You might all remember that was the end of COVID, and we really didn't want any volunteers going around to classrooms. And then the following year, we moved up to 695 volunteers. And then to the right, this is our normal survey questions that we ask parents. Parents think LSD schools prepare students academically for success in life, and that's given to grades 5, 7, and 9. We're at 88%. And then parents believe LUSD schools encourage active partnership. Same grades, 83%. And then moving down to school climate. This is the suspension rate and the expulsion rate for 2020 to 2021, the 21-22 school year and the 22-23 school year. Our suspension and expulsion rates are very, very low. The other thing I'd like to point out is in the previous version of this, we were disproportionate in the suspensions of Black African American students in our school districts. That is no longer. We're doing a great job with all of our focus group areas and our general student population. And then down at the bottom, this is enrollment by student group, broken out by the subgroups that are represented in the LCAP at the bottom of this document. Moving to the right, pupil engagement. So as Executive Director Bustil pointed out in her very wonderful presentation about chronic absenteeism and attendance rate, our attendance rate went up 2%, and you can see the subgroups that she talked about, and the little arrows indicate whether it went up or down. And then chronic absenteeism is at 10%. That number we want to go down, and it went down 5% from the previous year as Executive Director Bustil presented. And then we have our graduation rate overall and by subgroup, and then our dropout rate overall and by subgroup. Moving down, we have our CTE pathways. 73% of our students in the high school are enrolled in a pathway. 54% are male, 46% are female, and then you can see the breakdown by subgroup on the right. Moving down to advanced placement, 37% of our students at the high school are enrolled in an AP class. You saw that in the nut in the first infographic page, goal 1. And then that's broken down by subgroup. And then we have a 50-50 equivalency there for the students that take the AP test. It's 50-50, male and female. And then we have our early college enrollment of 37 sophomores, 20 juniors, and 21 seniors. And then down below under other pupil outcomes, we have our ACT results, SAT results, and PSAT results. In all sections, we outperform the state in those assessments. And the great thing about that is generally we're outperforming the state of similar students. They're all students that want to go to college somewhere and take the assessments to show the colleges that they're prepared for their institutions. Now, the one place under ACT We have adjusted who we compare ourselves to because there's so few people or school districts or students in the state taking the ACT anymore. So we're just comparing ourselves to the year prior. Because in the state of California, there's only 4% of students are taking the ACT anymore. As we move forward in the next 3 or 4 years, UCs and CSUs in the state of California are going to be using the ACT and the SAT less and less and less. And there's a number of private institutions that don't even use it anymore as a criterion for students to get into school. So I think ACT, we may drop off the infographic next year because it's so low of a percentage of students in California are taking the assessment. We'll see what happens with SAT and PSAT. We may leave that on there and look for a different indicator to add to the infographic. That is all the details I have on the infographics. We will post these on the website once we've gone through them one more time. We put a lot of eyes on these infographics to make sure that they're accurate and clean when they go up on the website. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I love data. So thank you for putting everything there. But I did request for last year's data, and I do see a discrepancy in the suspension rate and expulsion rate. So for last year, 2021-2022, the suspension rate that's been jotted down last year was 2.1% and 150 students. And expulsion rate was 0.2% and 17 students. That was 2021-2022.
I'll look that up and double check our data.
And I think 2020 and 2021 is also different. The expulsion rate is, it was actually 0%.
Okay, I'll look it up.
So that's one thing I just wanted to. And yeah, I actually requested for last year's LCAP data because I wanted to see how well we have grown. And as you mentioned, and as we just talked about, the chronic absenteeism that's reduced, definitely our scores have gone up a lot. And I know that I think a couple of days back or a week back, our Mountain House High School has been identified as a silver level award winner by the AP School Honor Roll.
Nationally.
Yeah. So it all made sense when I saw the data. So I just love seeing data. Thank you so much for your effort, and also the tech team who puts in all the effort into this. And thank you. Yeah, that's all I wanted to.
Can I just clarify too? There's conditions of success you can control, right? So you can control efforts to improve attendance rates. You can pass a first interim report that can pay the out year budget, the out 2 years. Suspension rate and expulsion rates are the most volatile because you could have 1 or 2 incidents or a group of kids that have 1 or 2 or 3 incidents that on any particular year can drive up or down the number. And so you have to take a different approach to these 2 particular sets of information because we wouldn't not hold someone accountable, and we don't want to over hold kids accountable. We want to do the right thing. So just for the sake of data and experience is this is the one area where we, as a condition of success, we can control in that in any given moment, teenagers can do teenager things.
And we certainly don't want to not suspend or expel a kid so the numbers look better.
Yeah. So I just want to clarify again. I was just sharing about 2020 and 2021. I hope you got what I was trying to say.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
You bet.
Okay.
Trust me, I'm in this document so much. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
I'll check the data.
Thank you. And I also have one more question. So the place where we have this data available for the parents and the community. Do we also have the earlier one, like are we going to present every year data to them or?
The infographics, the previous year infographics, yes. We're not going to provide the raw data because that data is multiple sheets of data that you need to be in education to kind of read and understand where that comes from.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Further questions or comments by the board?
No, my question was just going to be like, will like previous infographics be on the website? That was just answered, but I really like the design of this. I remember last year you gave us all a placemat. I still have that because I was just so impressed with the design. I can't throw it away. But I'm glad to see that they'll be on the website, and kudos, like you said, to the improvements where you can click on the little plus sign and see what you're like looking at. I think that's really great. A great way to engage the community.
I have one comment, and it will expose my OCD. But if we can look at the right-hand side of the infographic on course access 2022-2023, the fact that the percentages for CTE and advanced are swapped in the two different things, the information doesn't change, but the look of it, it would look better to me, and maybe there's a reason for it, if they were lined up.
You want to flip back the other way so that you have the listing and the listing of the subgroups, and then sure, yeah.
Anyway, it makes absolutely no sense besides the look of it.
We can do that.
But I like the way it looks. No.
Yeah.
Can we have a consensus of the board? Thank you. Moving on to item 11, calendar. Monday, December 25th, 2023 through Friday, January 2024 is winter break. District facilities will be closed. Tuesday, January 16th, 2024 is the Education Committee meeting at 6:30 at the Professional Development Center. Wednesday, January 17th, 2024 is the Safety Committee meeting at 3:45 in the District Office Boardroom. Wednesday, January 17th.
You don't have anything on your calendar tomorrow.
I am so sorry.
District Advisory Committee meeting at 6:15 in the District Boardroom. Wednesday, January 17th, 2024 is the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Moving on to item 12. Annual reorganization of governing board members. Item 1, call for nominations of board president. And with that, I would like to nominate Trustee Olson as board president.
Do we second the nominations, or do we just need a nomination?
I think past practice is just a nomination, but
I'll second, just in case.
all right. Are there any other nominations for board president? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The new board president is Trustee Olson, President Olson. Item 2, call for nominations for board clerk.
I'd like to move to nominate Lisa Boulay as board clerk.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for board clerk? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
And I should have called for student preferential votes on both of those, so you can say aye, aye, aye. Or nay. Item 3, nominations for representative to County Committee of District Representation.
Are you serving in that capacity currently?
I think Trustee Daniel
Oh.
is.
And did you want to continue in?
Thank you.
No, thank you. Was it fun?
I did not have any meetings to go to. It so I don't. Maybe I don't understand the role, or I didn't have any meetings to go to. So
Well,
I would
there
like.
were no-
That's not the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
There were no meetings for the last several years. That's, as I mentioned in my board report, that's something I'm trying to get started back up in the county, is the county board committee.
Well, if you're not interested in continuing, if you are, then absolutely. But if not, I'll do it.
If there is going to be some work and responsibilities to take care of, I would love to continue to be the representative to county.
Okay.
All right, I can't guarantee that there will be, but we're working on it. That was what the meeting with the county superintendent was about, was trying to get those meetings revitalized.
So I'll nominate Trustee Daniel. Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And again, I skipped our preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll try not to forget again, now that I'm soon to be no longer president. Item 4, consider approval of appointing Dr. Kirk Nicholas as secretary to the board.
So moved.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. In a moment, we will be adjourning to closed session where we will discuss Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release Complaint Government Code 54957, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, student discipline and other confidential matters, Education Code sections 35146, 48900, etc., and 48912B and 2020 of the USC section 1232G. Item D, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, 54956.9, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. No government code listed, so I can't read one. I will now entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned to closed session.
Thank you very much, everybody.
For being here. Have a wonderful evening and happy holidays.
Action from closed session. Closed session item C. The board took action on a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Daniel to approve independent study appeal application for student number 23-24-01 by the following vote, 5 ayes. Closed session item D. The board took action on a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Boulay to approve a final release and settlement agreement resolving case number 22CV2164. The board approved an agreement for reimbursement for services and attorney's fees in the amount of $70,000 to waive any and all rights to claim prevailing party attorney's fees from the litigation of OAH case number 2022-01035/2022020274. The motion passed by the following vote, 5 ayes, no noes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.